Hey guys, tonight we're diving into one of ancient Egypt's most elaborate celebrations, the Festival of Ra. From waking up at 4 a.m. to greet the sun god's daily rebirth, to spending 5 days straight celebrating someone's commute across the sky, this is the story of humanity's most dedicated solar appreciation society. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up 3 hours before dawn to the sound of temple bells and the gentle chanting of priests who have been preparing for this moment since midnight. Welcome to the Festival of Ra, ancient Egypt's 5-day celebration of the sun god who, according to mythology, dies every evening and is reborn every morning in a cosmic cycle that apparently requires extensive human appreciation and ceremonial assistance. Ra isn't just any god. He's the solar deity who travels across the sky each day in his golden bark, bringing light, warmth, and the basic conditions necessary for not freezing to death in the desert. Every morning, he emerges from the underworld, where he spent the night fighting the serpent Apophis, basically the cosmic embodiment of chaos and darkness who really doesn't want the sun to rise again. This daily battle between order and chaos, light and darkness is taken very seriously by ancient Egyptians who understand that if Ra loses even once, it's permanent darkness for everyone. No pressure, but the continuation of existence literally depends on a god successfully completing his daily commute while fighting a giant snake with anger management issues. The festival happens during the summer solstice, when Ra's power is at its peak and the sun stays in the sky longer than any other day of the year. This is both a celebration and a cosmic insurance policy, making sure Ra knows how much everyone appreciates his work and encouraging him to keep up the good fight against universal darkness and chaos. Your role in all this is as a temple assistant at the Great Temple of Ra in Heliopolis, which means your job for the next 5 days is to help coordinate the most elaborate sunrise service ever conceived by human civilization. This involves more logistics than modern music festivals and more precision timing than space launches. The preparations began weeks ago with the careful selection of offerings, the training of ceremonial dancers, the composition of new hymns, and the coordination of visiting priests from temples throughout Egypt who come to Heliopolis to participate in the premier solar celebration of the year. It's like hosting a religious conference where the guest of honor is a cosmic deity with very specific requirements. The temple complex is already bustling with activity despite the pre-dawn hour. Priests move through the corridors carrying oil lamps and ceremonial objects, their sandaled feet creating a soft rhythm against the stone floors that mingles with the sound of distant chanting and the gentle clink of gold jewelry and ceremonial implements. The air is thick with the scent of frankincense and myrrh, expensive imported resins that have been burning continuously for the past 3 days to purify the sacred spaces and create the proper aromatic atmosphere for divine visitation. The smoke drifts through the temple halls like ethereal fog, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow in the flickering oil lamp flames. You make your way to the eastern courtyard where the dawn ceremony will take place, carrying a tray of golden vessels filled with sacred oils and perfumes that will be used to anoint the statue of Ra during the morning ritual. The vessels are heavy and valuable, the kind of temple treasures that represent months of donations from wealthy families and successful merchants who understand that divine favor requires substantial investment. The high priest is already in position at the eastern altar, wearing his finest ceremonial robes and the gold collar that marks his rank as chief intermediary between the human and divine realms. His movements are slow and deliberate, each gesture part of a ritual sequence that has been performed the same way for generations of priests who understood that consistency in ceremonial manners is essential for maintaining cosmic order. Other temple assistants are arranging offerings on the altar, creating elaborate displays of bread, fruit, flowers, and precious objects that represent the abundance Ra brings to Egypt through his daily journey across the sky. Each offering is positioned according to specific requirements that relate to the sun god's preferences and the symbolic meanings of different foods and objects in solar theology. The bread offerings include loaves shaped like the sun disk, twisted into spirals that represent Ra's circular journey and decorated with seeds and honey to symbolize fertility and sweetness. The bakers who prepared these ceremonial loaves worked through the night, understanding that divine bread requires more attention to detail than ordinary human food, even if the gods presumably don't actually eat it. Fresh flowers cover much of the altar surface, creating a tapestry of color and fragrance that honors Ra's role in making plants grow and bloom. Lotus blossoms represent rebirth and the daily renewal of life, while sunflowers obviously symbolize the solar disk itself. The flower arrangements were assembled by specialists who understand the religious significance of different blooms and their proper ceremonial arrangement. The eastern horizon shows the first faint lightning that signals Ra's approaching emergence from the underworld. This is the moment everyone has been preparing for, the daily cosmic drama that never gets old despite happening literally every single day for the entire history of the world. The anticipation in the courtyard is palpable, as if sunrise were a special event rather than a predictable astronomical occurrence. Musicians take their positions with harps, sistrum rattles, and drums, ready to provide the soundtrack for Ra's emergence. The music for the dawn ceremony is ancient and traditional, passed down through generations of temple musicians who understand that the sun god has specific musical preferences and doesn't appreciate improvisation during his daily rebirth celebration. The chanting begins softly, a low harmonic hum that gradually builds in volume and complexity as more voices join the sunrise hymn. The words are in the oldest form of Egyptian, so ancient that even the priests have to learn them phonetically without fully understanding every nuance of meaning. It's the sacred language reserved for communications with deities that predate human civilization. A golden glow appears on the eastern horizon, the first visible sign of Ra's solar bark beginning its daily journey across the sky. The temple musicians increase their tempo, the chanting grows louder, and the high priest raises his arms to welcome the returning sun god with gestures that are both celebration and relief, because despite yesterday's successful sunrise, there's always a tiny doubt whether it will happen again. The sun disk breaks free from the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange that transform.
This sunrise ceremony will be repeated every morning for the 5 days of the festival, but each day brings variations and additions that prevent the ritual from becoming routine. Today includes special offerings from visiting delegations. Tomorrow will feature ceremonial dancing, and the final day will culminate in a grand procession through the city streets. After the morning ceremony concludes, the festival activities move to different areas of the temple complex for the day's main events. The central courtyard has been prepared for public worship, with areas designated for different social classes and occupational groups who come to honor Ra in their traditional ways. Farmers bring samples of their finest grain, thanking Ra for the sunlight that makes their crops grow and requesting continued favorable weather for the growing season. Their offerings are practical and heartfelt, representing the direct connection between solar energy and agricultural success that makes Egyptian civilization possible. Craftsmen present examples of their finest work, jewelry and sculptures that incorporate solar symbols and demonstrate the skill that comes from having adequate lighting for detailed work. The goldsmiths are particularly prominent, since gold is considered the flesh of Ra, and golden objects are believed to have special spiritual potency when offered to the sun god. Merchants arrive with exotic goods from distant lands, incense and precious stones that demonstrate the prosperity Ra brings to Egypt through trade relationships that depend on reliable seasonal weather and navigational conditions. Their offerings are displays of international success that wouldn't be possible without the cosmic stability that Ra maintains through his daily journey. The temple kitchens work constantly during the festival to prepare meals for the thousands of visitors who come to participate in the celebrations. Cooking for a religious festival requires special attention to ritual purity and ceremonial appropriateness, since the food will be shared in a sacred context and must meet standards that go beyond ordinary nutritional requirements. Bread production alone requires dozens of bakers working in shifts to produce the quantities needed for both offerings and public distribution. The ovens burn continuously, creating a warm, yeasty atmosphere that mingles with the incense smoke and flower fragrances to create the distinctive scent of festival celebration. Beer brewing is equally important, since beer is both a ritual offering and a practical necessity for keeping large crowds of visitors properly hydrated in the Egyptian heat. The festival beer is brewed to special specifications, stronger and more flavorful than everyday beer, to mark the special occasion and demonstrate proper respect for the divine guest of honor. Afternoon activities include storytelling sessions where priests recount the myths of Ra's daily journey and nightly battles with chaos. These stories are both entertainment and education, teaching the assembled crowds about the cosmic principles that govern their world and the religious obligations that maintain divine favor and universal stability. The most popular stories involve Ra's battles with Apophis, the serpent of chaos, who tries every night to prevent sunrise by attacking the solar bark during its underworld journey. These tales are told with dramatic flair and audience participation, since everyone understands that they have a stake in Ra's victory over the forces of darkness and disorder. Children are especially engaged by these stories, which help them understand their place in the cosmic order and the importance of maintaining proper relationships with the divine powers that control their world. The storytelling sessions serve as informal religious education that supplements the formal training they receive from priests and family members. Late afternoon brings the preparation for evening ceremonies that honor Ra's daily death and transformation as he begins his nightly journey through the underworld. This transition from day to night is treated with the same ceremonial attention as the morning sunrise, because both events represent critical moments in the cosmic cycle that maintains universal order. The evening ceremony takes place in the western courtyard, symbolically aligned with the sunset direction and decorated with symbols of Ra's underworld journey. The atmosphere is more subdued than the joyful morning celebration, reflecting the serious nature of Ra's nightly battle against chaos and the uncertainty of whether he will successfully emerge again at dawn. Offerings for the evening ceremony include items associated with protection and strength, weapons and amulets that will help Ra in his battle against Apophis. These offerings represent the human contribution to the cosmic struggle, symbolic assistance that demonstrates loyalty and support for the divine forces of order.
The sunset ceremony includes prayers for Ra's safe passage through the dangers of the underworld and requests for his successful return in the morning. These prayers are offered with genuine concern because ancient Egyptians understand that cosmic order is not automatic and requires constant divine effort to maintain. As darkness falls, torches and oil lamps are lit throughout the temple complex, creating islands of light that symbolically support Ra during his period of absence from the upper world. The festival doesn't stop at sunset, but continues with nighttime activities that maintain connection with the sun god even when he's not visible in the sky. Evening meals are served in the temple courtyards, communal feasts that bring families and communities together in celebration of Ra's continued protection and blessing. The food is prepared according to traditional recipes that have been associated with the festival for generations, creating continuity between past and present celebrations. Nighttime entertainment includes music and dancing that celebrate Ra's various aspects and achievements. Professional entertainers perform traditional pieces that tell stories of the sun god's adventures, while ordinary participants join in group dances that allow everyone to contribute to the festival atmosphere. The dancing continues late into the night, creating a joyful celebration that counteracts the darkness and demonstrates human confidence in Ra's eventual return. The rhythmic music and coordinated movements serve as a form of prayer in motion, physical expressions of faith in the cosmic order and divine protection. Sleeping arrangements during the festival are communal and temporary, with families camping in designated areas of the temple complex or in nearby buildings that have been opened to accommodate the crowds. The overnight stays create a sense of pilgrimage and shared experience that strengthens community bonds and religious commitment. Night watchmen patrol the temple grounds, maintaining security and tending the sacred fires that must burn continuously throughout the festival period. These guards are responsible for protecting the valuable offerings and ensuring that the ceremonial elements remain undisturbed until the morning rituals resume.
The second day of the festival begins with the same pre-dawn preparation, but includes additional elements that weren't part of the first day's ceremonies. Special guest priests from other temples contribute their regional variations to the sunrise ritual, creating a more complex and elaborate celebration that demonstrates the widespread worship of Ra throughout Egypt. Morning offerings on the second day include items that represent different aspects of Ra's solar journey. Miniature boats that symbolize his celestial bark, and golden objects that represent the sun disk itself. These specialized offerings require skilled craftsmen and significant resources, demonstrating the community's commitment to properly honoring their most important deity. The midday activities of the second day focus on Ra's role as judge and maintainer of cosmic justice. Legal disputes are resolved in special courts that operate under divine auspices, with the understanding that Ra's presence ensures fair and righteous decisions that maintain social harmony and moral order. Afternoon processions wind through the temple complex and surrounding city streets, carrying statues of Ra and other solar deities in elaborate parades that allow the entire community to participate in the celebration. These processions move slowly and ceremoniously, stopping at designated points for prayers and offerings.
The third day introduces competitive elements, contests of skill and strength that honor Ra's power and encourage excellence in human achievement. Archery competitions test precision and focus, while racing events celebrate speed and endurance, all dedicated to the sun god who represents the highest standards of performance and success. Artistic competitions showcase creativity and technical skill, with prizes awarded for the best solar-themed sculptures, paintings, and musical compositions. These contests encourage innovation within traditional forms and create new works of art that will be preserved and used in future festivals. The fourth day features elaborate theatrical performances that dramatize the myths of Ra's creation of the world and his ongoing battles with chaos. Professional actors and trained dancers present these cosmic dramas with costumes and scenery that create spectacular visual presentations of divine stories and religious teachings. Audience participation in these performances helps create community involvement and shared understanding of the religious principles being presented. The theatrical events serve both as entertainment and education, making complex theological concepts accessible to ordinary people through dramatic presentation and visual spectacle. The fifth and final day builds toward the climactic closing ceremony that marks the end of the festival and Ra's renewed commitment to his daily cosmic journey. Preparations for this ceremony begin before dawn and continue throughout the day, involving the entire temple community in collaborative efforts to create a memorable conclusion to the celebration. Final offerings include the most valuable and elaborate items that have been prepared specifically for the closing ceremony. Golden objects, precious stones, and rare incenses are presented to Ra as expressions of gratitude for his protection and requests for his continued favor in the coming year. The closing ceremony takes place at sunset, symbolically marking Ra's transition from festival celebration back to his regular cosmic duties. The entire community gathers for final prayers and blessings, creating a sense of shared conclusion and renewed commitment to maintaining proper relationships with divine powers. As the sun sets on the final day, torches are extinguished one by one in a ceremony that represents the gradual return to ordinary time and regular religious observance. The festival atmosphere slowly gives way to normal temple routine, though the sense of spiritual renewal and community connection continues to influence daily life long after the celebration ends. The cleanup process begins immediately after the closing ceremony, with teams of workers carefully dismantling temporary structures and organizing the ceremonial objects for storage until the next year's festival. This post-festival work is performed with the same attention to detail as the celebration itself, ensuring that sacred items are properly preserved and maintained. Visitors begin their journeys home, carrying memories of the celebration and small tokens or blessed objects that will remind them of their participation in the great solar festival. These souvenirs serve as ongoing connections to the divine experience and help maintain religious devotion throughout the year. The temple returns to its regular routine of daily sunrise ceremonies and
ordinary worship services, but the impact of the festival continues to influence the spiritual atmosphere and community relationships. The intensive celebration creates renewed energy and commitment that supports religious practice for months afterward. And as you settle into your regular duties as a temple assistant, there's satisfaction in knowing that you've contributed to one of humanity's most elaborate expressions of cosmic devotion and solar appreciation. The Festival of Ra represents the ultimate religious celebration, combining theological complexity with community participation in ways that honor both divine power and human creativity. The memory of 5 days spent celebrating the sun's daily journey creates a deeper appreciation for the cosmic rhythms that govern earthly life. Every sunrise for the rest of the year will carry echoes of the celebration that remind you of the divine drama that plays out daily in the sky above and the human role in supporting cosmic order through proper worship and devotion. And in the quiet evening hours after the festival, the temple settles into peaceful routine that feels both restful and purposeful. Tomorrow there will be regular sunrise prayers, ordinary offerings, and the comfortable rhythm of daily religious observance that continues throughout the year, sustained by the spiritual energy generated during the great solar celebration. And as you drift off to sleep in your simple temple quarters, surrounded by the lingering scent of festival incense and the memory of 5 days spent honoring the sun's cosmic journey, there's profound peace in knowing that some traditions connect human life to something larger and more enduring than individual concerns, creating community bonds that span generations and spiritual connections that transcend ordinary time. The gentle night sounds of the temple complex, settling wood and distant chanting from the night watch prayers create a peaceful lullaby that carries the echoes of celebration into restful sleep, promising dreams filled with golden light, cosmic harmony, and the eternal rhythm of sunrise and sunset that continues its ancient cycle regardless of human celebration, but somehow seems more meaningful and beautiful when properly honored through festivals that bring communities together in appreciation of the divine gifts that sustain all life.
Hey guys, tonight we're following Pharaoh Amenhotep III as he drifts into sleep after 5 exhausting days of the Festival of Ra, entering a dream world where the gods communicate through star patterns and cosmic visions that would make modern astronomers weep with envy. From receiving divine guidance through constellation maps to having prophetic dreams about next year's Nile flood while floating through the celestial sphere, this is the story of humanity's most divinely connected sleep experience. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The Festival of Ra has ended with spectacular sunset ceremonies. Thousands of visitors have returned to their homes, and you, Pharaoh Amenhotep III, are finally alone in your private chambers with nothing but the gentle night sounds of the palace and 5 days' worth of accumulated exhaustion from being the living embodiment of divine authority in front of your entire kingdom. Your golden bedchamber is situated on the palace's highest level, specifically designed to align with astronomical observations and provide clear views of the night sky through windows that serve as both ventilation and cosmic viewing portals. The walls are decorated with star charts and constellation maps that your court astronomers use to track celestial movements and divine communications. The linens on your bed are made from the finest flax, woven so smoothly they feel like silk against skin that's still slightly sticky from 5 days of ceremonial oils, sacred incense, and the kind of intensive religious performance that makes modern politicians look like amateur actors. Your crown sits on its golden stand beside the bed, temporarily relieved of duty, but somehow still radiating the weight of divine kingship even while you're trying to relax. The palace is unusually quiet after the festival's constant activity. No more crowds chanting hymns, no more ceremonial processions, no more priests requiring your attention for ritual approvals. Just the soft sounds of night guards changing shifts, the distant whisper of wind through the palace gardens, and the gentle lapping of the Nile against the royal dock far below your window. As you settle into the comfortable luxury of your bed, your body begins to release the physical tension of 5 days spent standing, walking, gesturing, and maintaining the perfect posture required of someone who represents divine authority on earth. Your muscles slowly relax, your breathing deepens, and your mind starts to drift away from the immediate concerns of ruling Egypt toward the peaceful realm of approaching sleep. The first hints of dreams begin as gentle images that float through your consciousness like clouds drifting across a clear sky. Golden light from the festival ceremonies mingles with memories of chanting voices and the scent of frankincense, creating a soft, warm mental landscape that feels both familiar and otherworldly. Your dream consciousness begins to lift away from the physical bed, rising gently through the palace roof as if drawn upward by invisible divine hands. The sensation is weightless and peaceful, like floating in warm water that supports every part of your body while allowing complete freedom of movement. Below you, the palace grows smaller and smaller, until it becomes just another building in the sprawling city of Thebes. You continue rising through the cool night air, past the tops of palm trees and temple pylons, beyond the reach of earthly sounds and concerns, until you find yourself floating in the star-filled darkness of the Egyptian sky. The sensation is neither cold nor warm, but perfectly comfortable, as if the night air itself has been designed specifically for divine travel and celestial observation. The stars above you are brighter and more numerous than they appear from Earth, each one a distinct point of divine light that pulses gently with cosmic energy. They're not the distant, cold stars visible to ordinary human eyes, but living divine presences that radiate warmth, wisdom, and the kind of ancient knowledge that predates human civilization by millions of years. A familiar golden glow appears beside you, and you recognize the presence of Ra, no longer in his daytime aspect as the blazing sun disk, but in his gentler nighttime form, as a wise guide and divine counselor. His appearance shifts between human and bird, sometimes showing the falcon head of his divine aspect, sometimes the face of an ancient king whose features combine authority with paternal kindness. My son, Ra's voice resonates not through your ears, but directly into your consciousness, carrying the warmth of summer sunlight and the depth of cosmic wisdom accumulated over eons of divine existence. The festival was well celebrated. Your people showed proper devotion, and the cosmic order remains strong. But tonight, you must receive the visions that will guide Egypt through the coming year. Ra extends what might be a hand or might be a wing, and you feel yourself drawn gently through the starfield toward a particular constellation that glows with special intensity against the cosmic darkness. The movement is smooth and effortless, like being carried by a current of warm air that knows exactly where it's going and requires no effort on your part to navigate. The constellation you approach is Sahu, known to future civilizations as Orion, but understood by Egyptians as the celestial form of Osiris, god of the underworld and eternal life. The star pattern forms the outline of a striding figure wearing the white crown of Upper Egypt, his arms positioned in gestures of blessing and protection that mirror the poses you've been practicing during festival ceremonies. As you draw closer to the constellation, the individual stars begin to show their distinct personalities and purposes. The 3 stars of Orion's belt represent the 3 aspects of divine kingship: wisdom, strength, and justice. Each star pulses with a different rhythm, creating a celestial heartbeat that matches the cosmic cycles of creation, preservation, and renewal. Osiris himself appears among the stars, not as the bandaged mummy of artistic representations, but as a living divine king whose form shifts between stellar light and human-like presence. His voice carries the deep resonance of someone who has experienced death and rebirth, transformation and renewal, the ultimate mysteries that await every pharaoh at the end of their earthly reign. Amenhotep, my successor in the realm of the living, Osiris speaks with gentle authority that carries no threat, only the wisdom of divine experience. Look into the stellar patterns and receive the guidance that will serve Egypt well. The stars do not lie, and their movements reveal the divine will that shapes earthly events. Your dream vision expands to encompass the entire night sky, and suddenly you can perceive the intricate relationships between different constellation groups and planetary movements. The sky becomes a vast scroll written in stellar hieroglyphics that tell stories of past, present, and future events affecting your kingdom and your people.
Near the horizon, the constellation of the Great Bear circles slowly around the North Star, representing the eternal cycle of seasons and the dependable return of favorable conditions for agriculture and trade. The bear's movement is slow and hypnotic, a cosmic clock that measures time in months and years rather than hours and days. Osiris guides your attention to specific star patterns that relate to the coming year's Nile flood, the single most important event in Egyptian agriculture and economics. The stars show favorable alignments that predict a generous but not excessive inundation, the perfect level of flooding that will deposit rich silt without destroying villages or irrigation systems. The flood will arrive 3 days earlier than last year, Osiris explains, his stellar wisdom translating cosmic movements into practical information that you can use to guide your kingdom's agricultural planning. The waters will rise to the second mark on the Nilometers, bringing abundance without destruction. Prepare your granaries and expand the storage facilities in the Delta region. The vision shifts to show you a bird's-eye view of Egypt during the coming flood season, the Nile spreading across the floodplains in a network of silver channels that bring life to thousands of square miles of otherwise barren desert. You can see farmers preparing their fields, engineers adjusting canal systems, and administrators coordinating the massive logistical effort required to take full advantage of the annual inundation. Another constellation draws your attention, a group of stars that ancient Egyptian astronomers called the followers of Orion.
but which will be known to future civilizations as Canis Major. The brightest star in this constellation is Sopdet, or Sirius, whose heliacal rising traditionally signals the beginning of the flood season and the start of the Egyptian New Year. Sopdet appears before you as the goddess Isis, her stellar form radiating the blue-white light of one of the brightest stars in the night sky. Her presence brings comfort and maternal protection, the divine feminine energy that balances the masculine solar power of Ra and provides nurturing support for all living things. "My beloved Pharaoh," Isis speaks, with the gentle authority of divine motherhood. The star patterns reveal favorable conditions for trade and diplomacy in the coming year. The kingdoms to the south will send tribute of gold and ivory, while the northern peoples will offer cedar wood and precious metals in exchange for Egyptian grain and manufactured goods. Your dream vision expands to show you trade routes stretching across the known world, caravans moving slowly across desert landscapes, and ships sailing the Mediterranean Sea loaded with Egyptian exports. The trade networks appear as glowing lines of light connecting Egypt to distant civilizations, creating a web of economic relationships that bring prosperity and cultural exchange. The constellation of the Lion, known to future astronomers as Leo, appears in your celestial field of vision, its stars forming the outline of the great cat that represents royal power and divine authority. The lion's stellar form radiates golden light that reminds you of the sun god's daytime glory while maintaining the gentler, more contemplative energy of nighttime wisdom. The Lion constellation speaks with the voice of Sekhmet, the lioness goddess of war and healing. Her stellar presence combining protective ferocity with the healing power that comes from overcoming challenges and obstacles. Her voice carries both strength and compassion, the dual aspects of divine power that must be balanced in wise rulership. The coming year will test Egypt's strength, Sekhmet warns, but her tone carries confidence rather than concern. Challenges from the eastern borders will require diplomatic skill rather than military force. Your wisdom in handling these situations will strengthen Egypt's reputation and create lasting peace with neighboring kingdoms. The stellar vision shows you scenes of diplomatic meetings and treaty negotiations, royal envoys carrying gifts and messages between courts, and the gradual establishment of peaceful relationships that will benefit all parties involved. You can see yourself presiding over these negotiations with the calm authority that comes from divine guidance and stellar wisdom. Your dream consciousness continues to float through the star field, observing other constellations and their divine messages. The constellation of the Bull, with its bright red star marking the creature's eye, represents the agricultural abundance that will support Egypt's prosperity during the coming year. The stellar bull moves slowly across the sky, its measured pace reflecting the patient rhythm of farming cycles and seasonal changes. Near the southern horizon, a constellation known as the Ship of the Gods shows the stellar vessel that carries divine souls across the celestial waters. This constellation relates to the spiritual journey that awaits you in the distant future,
when your earthly reign ends and you join the divine pharaohs who rule the afterlife kingdom alongside Osiris and Ra. The ship constellation doesn't speak directly, but its presence creates a profound sense of peace and continuity. The understanding that your current responsibilities as earthly pharaoh are part of a much larger cosmic cycle that extends beyond individual lifetimes into the eternal realm of divine service. A group of smaller stars near the celestial equator form the pattern of the scales, representing the cosmic balance of Ma'at that governs all aspects of Egyptian life and thought. These stars pulse in perfect rhythm, creating a visual representation of divine justice and the moral order that must be maintained through wise and ethical leadership. Ma'at herself appears among these stars, her feather of truth glowing with pure white light that seems to illuminate the entire celestial sphere. Her presence brings the deep peace that comes from living in harmony with cosmic principles and divine will. The sense of rightness that accompanies decisions made according to universal truth rather than personal advantage. Your reign continues to uphold the cosmic balance, Ma'at speaks, with the clarity of absolute truth, her words carrying the weight of universal law. The coming year will offer opportunities to strengthen justice and fairness throughout Egypt. New laws you enact will serve as models for future generations of rulers who seek to govern according to divine principles. The stellar vision shows you scenes of legal proceedings and administrative reforms, court sessions where justice is administered fairly, regardless of social status or wealth, and the gradual implementation of policies that protect the rights of ordinary citizens while maintaining proper respect for divine authority and traditional values. As your dream journey through the star realm continues, you become aware of the vast cosmic harmony that connects all the constellation groups and planetary movements into a single, unified system. Each star has its proper place and function. Each celestial body moves according to divine law, and all together they create the cosmic order that sustains earthly life.
The experience is both humbling and empowering, showing you your place within the larger cosmic structure while confirming your role as the divine representative who maintains earthly harmony in accordance with celestial patterns. You understand that your individual decisions and actions have significance far beyond their immediate earthly consequences. Ra reappears beside you in the stellar realm, his divine presence now encompassing both his solar aspect and his role as cosmic guide and protector. His voice carries the warmth of paternal pride, combined with the infinite wisdom of divine experience, accumulated over countless cycles of creation and renewal. You have received the star wisdom well, my son, Ra speaks with satisfaction and continuing guidance. These visions will return to your waking consciousness as needed throughout the coming year. Trust in the divine guidance that flows through stellar patterns and seasonal cycles, and Egypt will continue to prosper under your wise leadership. The stellar realm begins to fade gradually as your dream consciousness prepares to return to earthly awareness. The constellation figures wave farewell with gestures of blessing and protection, their stellar forms slowly dissolving back into individual points of light that twinkle peacefully in the vast darkness of the night sky. Your dream awareness settles gently back into your physical body lying on the luxurious bed in your palace chamber. The transition is smooth and comfortable, like sinking into warm water that supports and embraces every part of your being. The cosmic visions remain vivid and meaningful, but no longer overwhelming in their divine intensity. The palace chamber feels both familiar and somehow enlarged by your stellar journey, as if the walls now contain not just physical space, but also the cosmic perspectives you've gained through divine communication. The star charts on the walls seem more meaningful now, their astronomical details connected to the living divine presences you've encountered in the celestial realm. Through your chamber window, the actual night sky visible from Earth appears more welcoming and accessible. Its stars no longer distant points of light, but familiar divine friends who continue to watch over Egypt and guide your reign according to cosmic principles and stellar wisdom. Your body feels completely relaxed and comfortable. All the physical tensions of the festival celebration dissolved by the peaceful journey through divine realms. Your mind retains the essential guidance received from the stellar deities, but in a form that creates calm confidence rather than overwhelming responsibility. Sleep deepens naturally, carrying you into more ordinary dreams that process the day's events and prepare your mind for tomorrow's earthly responsibilities. But the stellar wisdom remains as a foundation of divine guidance that will influence your decisions and actions throughout the coming year. The night sounds of the palace continue their gentle symphony, the soft footsteps of guards changing shifts, the distant murmur of the Nile flowing past the royal dock, and the whisper of wind through the palace gardens, where exotic plants and sacred trees create earthly reflections of celestial order. Dawn will bring the return of earthly concerns and royal duties, administrative meetings and ceremonial obligations that require your attention as the living embodiment of divine authority in Egypt. But the night's stellar journey has provided the cosmic perspective and divine guidance necessary for wise leadership in the coming year. The gentle rhythm of your breathing matches the eternal pulse of cosmic cycles, connecting your individual life to the larger patterns of creation and renewal that govern all existence. In this peaceful alignment between earthly and celestial rhythms, there is profound rest and spiritual renewal. Tomorrow's sunrise will mark the beginning of Ra's daily journey across the sky, the same cosmic cycle that has sustained Egypt since the beginning of time and will continue to provide light and life for generations yet to come. But tonight belongs to rest, to stellar wisdom, and to the peaceful dreams that prepare pharaohs for the divine responsibilities of earthly leadership. The star-filled darkness outside your window creates a canopy of divine protection over the palace and the kingdom beyond, each twinkling point of light a reminder of the cosmic order that supports and sustains all earthly life. In this vast celestial embrace, individual concerns dissolve into the larger harmony that connects all things according to divine will. And in the deepening silence of the Egyptian night, broken only by the gentle sounds of a kingdom at peace with itself and its place in the cosmic order, sleep carries away the day's efforts and tomorrow's plans, leaving only the eternal rhythm of breathing that connects mortal pharaohs to immortal gods across the timeless bridge of dreams and divine visions. The stellar wisdom received tonight will return when needed, emerging naturally in moments of decision and leadership challenge as guidance that seems to arise from intuition, but actually flows from the cosmic intelligence that governs all existence according to principles of truth, justice, and divine harmony. In the peaceful darkness of the royal chamber, surrounded by the protective presence of divine forces and the comfortable luxury of earthly power used according to cosmic principles, there is perfect rest and complete peace, the kind of sleep that restores both body and spirit for continued service to the eternal order that connects Egyptian civilization to the divine powers that created and sustained the universe itself. And so the night passes in gentle dreams and stellar peace, carrying Pharaoh and kingdom alight through the quiet hours until dawn brings the return of Ra's golden light and another day of divine service in the eternal rhythm that connects earthly leadership to cosmic wisdom across the timeless cycles of creation, preservation, and renewal that govern all existence according to the will of the gods who guide mortal rulers through stellar visions and celestial dreams.